Welcome to the FLIR Thermal Studio tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at the library tab. You'll see in front of you we've got the default screen that appears every time you launch the software, and across the top of the software we've got four main tabs. We've got a home tab, we've got a library tab, we've got a reporting tab, and we've got a batch processing tab. The idea of these tutorials is just to give you an idea as to how to use the software. So what I'm going to do is click on the library tab, and straight away we can see a list of directories down the right hand side of the page and some sort of thermal images or recordings. I've set up a very specific directory for this tutorial, and it's called Thermal Report Training, and I'm going to click on that, and what I have is a selection of images from different cameras and of many different applications. At this stage, if I wanted to go into the software and download images from the camera or from another device, what I do is right click on the directory and open containing folder. Now what this does is gives you direct access to Windows Explorer, so you can create directories, you can move images around to suit your application or the work that you're doing. Now, if we have a look at the images in this directory, all I need to do is really double click on any of them. So what we'll do is double click on image number 27, and we can sort of see we've got something displaying an elevated temperature. So the post-analysis part of this, if you look across the top part of the screen, we've got a series of tools. We've got a sketch tool, so if you use a sketch function in your camera, you can look at the sketch. You may be able to draw another sketch. We've got measurement tools, so we've got spot meters, we've got a line, we've got a rectangle, polygon, a delta T measurement, an ellipse, and also a magic wand, which gives you a temperature wherever you point it on the thermal image. We've got color palette selection. We've got isotherms, sort of three basic isotherms, above, interval, and below. And then we've got sort of a color distribution, anything from histogram equalization, temperature linear, digital detail enhancement. If you want to know more about these imaging modes, it's an ideal time to jump on a training course where we can discuss these in more detail. We can auto adjust, so we can thermally tune the image manually or sort of within a rectangle. We can crop the image, we can rotate the image, but also we can realign MSX, the daylight in a thermal picture, if it is out of alignment. So if we take this image here, I've got a spot reading on here. I'm just going to put it on one of the cables here, and if I want to look at another tool, I've got another spot meter, and all I do is really click the mouse. So I've got a spot 1 and a spot 2, and if you look at the right hand side of the screen, we can sort of see those temperatures being displayed. Now there's a lot of other information down the right hand side of the image. We can put a note in, we can see the daylight picture, and we can add this image straight to a report, or we can add the whole directory straight to a report template to speed up the reporting process. There's something here called add to batch. Now what batch processing is, it enables us to condition a whole folder full of images, let's say to the same color palette, to the same emissivity, to the same level and span. So when we put a report together, or when we want to analyze, it makes ourselves makes our life a little bit easier. We can also create a job, which means that we can create a batch process specifically for this group of image or this directory of images, and this will be shown in later tutorials. If we look further down, all the normal parameters, emissivity, reflected temperature, we've got the scale, we've got an overlay here, so we can overlay all of this information if we want to, and then sort of down the bottom we've got the camera details, the date the image was taken, the file size, and things like that. Now when we come to produce a report or even a report template, we can select tables that enable us to display this information if we need it. So sticking with the analysis tools, we've got a spot 1 and a spot 2, but if I wanted to know the difference between those, what I can do is just click the Delta tab. And if we look at the top right of the screen again, we've got a delta spot 1 versus reference. Now if I click this little symbol here, what I can do is manually select what I want to measure the delta T temperature between. Okay, we've done that. The DT1 temperature there is 17.7 degrees. So from there we can help classify how serious this problem is. Well, what about color palette? Okay, I think for electrical, I quite like iron. It's just quite easy to understand. However, if we want to use the isotherms, let's just put this this image in grayscale. So we've got a nice grayscale image, and then we can select an isotherm. So I want to highlight the warmest temperature here. I'm going to click the above isotherm, and you can see we've got a lot of red. If you look at the left-hand side, the scale, it's an above isotherm, so everything above a certain temperature is highlighted as a color. And then if we slowly move down to the bottom, we've got a manual control of this. So all I'm doing is clicking and dragging this this slider here just to highlight the warmest area. And this is a very effective tool. When it comes to color distribution, you know, we do get differences in these. They all enhance or work in a very slightly different way. If you need to crop the image, we can show the crop rectangle. We can cut out the little bits that we don't want. Personally, I think this image is okay, so I'm not going to select anywhere. But if you crop an image and hit the tick box, that will save that crop. Just be careful. This won't increase resolution at all. It'll just cut out what you don't want to see. Then we've got image rotation. If you've taken the image at an angle, what we can do is, you know, bring that angle back around, and we can realign the image. And then you may need to crop the image after that. Now, I'm just going to return back to an iron color palette, and I'm going to take the isotherm off because I want to show you the functionality of fusion mode. You know, MSX, we've got thermal only, we've got thermal fusion, we've got blending, picture in picture and visual. If we click on the MSX and adjust the fusion alignment, what I can do is, using this box, you can sort of see I'm manually aligning the daylight and the thermal picture. So I'm bringing the hard edges of the daylight picture and aligning them in the correct place on the thermal picture. There's many images I've taken where the MSX function hasn't really worked. And then we can, you know, how much MSX, how strong do you want that that signal to be? And then the last one here is show the profile plot. So we've got a graph here at the bottom, and if we go back to our analysis tools and we click a line, all we do is click once, drag the mouse, it'll draw the line across the image, and then click again to finish. And you can see we've got a very nice representation of a profile, differences in temperature. Now in some reports we may use text annotation, and in another tutorial we'll show you how to create this text annotation. However, for this image here, what I can do here on the right hand side of the screen is import text annotation from a template. And I've got two templates on here. I've just got an example template and a category 1 template. If I click category 1, what we can do is we've got a selection of labels. So this was taken in a basement. The component's not a fuse, but it's a contactor. The problem is that it's warm or it's hot, and the recommendation would be really to check the component. And if we hit OK, what's going to happen then is that's going to be embedded into the image. So we can save that and we can close. And then what we can do is move on to another image. If you have a look at this one, we just go through the same process. We've got some analysis tools. This is probably more qualitative, but we'll put a few markers on here. We'll put one here. Let's put a rectangle in as well. There we go, got a rectangle on there. I think the color palette's right. It's a high intensity color palette, so it's a rainbow high color. We're not going to display any isotherms, but I think the important one with this is the alignment, the adjust fusion alignment. If you can see, there's a ghosting image of the MSX. So what I've got to do is just really adjust the two images, bring them in line, so that you know, they align nicely. And down the bottom here, I can manually adjust the scale. So just adjusting the level and the span a little bit, just to portray a good balanced thermal image. Okay, so I like that. What I'm going to do is save and close. So this is really the process of analyzing images within the library tab. Now, the library tab does have another function. If we go to another directory called recordings, and I'm just going to pick a recording, this one here, and we can sort of see if we play this through, it should play. We got a man waving there. Now, if we're interested in only segments of this, we've got a manual control of the slider here, and if that's the particular frame we want, what we can do is save a snapshot, and that's a radiometric snapshot that we can post-analyze later. If we're into just using a little bit of the video, again, we can set markers. So we can sort of say, well, actually, I only want to look between there and there. And then if we hit the save button, that saves that selection of video. With this in mind, the library tab has a very useful function within the FLIR report software, and careful management of your images will enable easy report writing functionality.